A couple months ago, in the literal shithole that is San Francisco, a woman came across a common phenomenon in the increasingly decaying urban centers of our country. There used to be places that drew people from all across the world. Like, these were the crown jewels of our country in terms of man's capability on full display. But now you just see a bunch of people shooting up heroin, defecating on the sidewalks, and of course having sex on the sidewalks. So anyways, this woman comes across this and she takes a photograph of it so that she can tweet about it and basically ask people, hey, is this something that we're just supposed to be okay with? Is this what we're doing now? This is cool. This is fine. And almost every reply to this tweet was from left-wing people basically saying, why don't you mind your own business? Let people enjoy things. You, sir, are an asshole. And that's how you know that you're not actually speaking to a real person, but rather a lemming. Like, there's a certain speech pattern and an insult pattern that these people always fall into because the volume of their brains are filled by reddit.com. Like the whole, you, sir, that thing. You're an asshole. Stop being mean to people. And a lot of you might even echo the sentiment of those replies, which a lot of them were like, well, you know, why'd you feel compelled to take a picture of it? That's weird. You shouldn't have done that. I get that. Think of the implication of that, though. Obviously, in public, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy, especially on a sidewalk in downtown San Francisco. So to say, hey, don't take a photo, that's weird, kind of acknowledges that what's happening in the photo is weird and probably shouldn't be happening there in the first place, right? And we can't really discuss the problem if no one's even calling attention to it, right? But regardless of how silly this might be, this is actually indicative of some trends in society that we should discuss, especially considering how the replies to this were all people basically defending the people in the photo. So we will go over the results of the moral decline and the slippery slope in this country, how the left has totally inverted reality, whether it's even possible to reconcile with these people, and the truth about sexual liberation and its effects on culture throughout history. So do stay tuned.
Oh, I see. I think you're really sweet, and I like you a lot too. But I just can't be with somebody who's involved in science. I hope you understand. And you probably will pretty easily since you're so smart. Plus, I value our friendship too much to risk it over some silly relationship. Plus, you always buy me coffee, and I can't lose that, right? Anyways, my boyfriend is here.
Doyle in. Heck off, commie.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heck Off Commie. It's a big day today. It's Friday, and the new official Heck Off Commie merch is now live on the website, heckoffcommie.com. Go there now. Stock up for the fall. Stock up for the holidays. It's in limited supply. Get it while you can. We've got some super great designs. We're super excited about it. We're going to be representing in public all the boys, all the 7%ers, all the George Floyd conservatives. I'm excited. We haven't done merch since the 1-year anniversary. Now it's the 3-year anniversary, and we're doing great things. So be sure to check that out. But anyways, the first thing that I want to address is the most common reply to this from people who were being smug and thought that this was actually like an own or something, which was well, you're just as bad because you stopped to take a picture of it. You're the one who's weird, and study this, because this is actually a perfect example of something that a stupid person would think a smart person would say, because obviously it's not as weird, but it is a little bit weird. And the context is really what matters, because if someone were taking pictures of people having sex in their house, that's one thing. But this is in public, and it shouldn't be happening in public. Call me a Puritan, call me old-fashioned, call me a square. Hey, it's hip to be square. I just don't think that the sidewalks should be breeding grounds for crackheads. That's just my opinion. We let you have the collapse of the family structure. We let you have hookup culture. We let you have birth control. We let you have abortion. We let you have non-monogamy. We let you have gay marriage, or whatever. We let you have transgenderism. But you know what? No, this is too far. This is where my personal line of decency is crossed. Do you see how there's no appeasing these people, how they will never stop? And again, the reason this is important is because the replies to this weren't even making excuses for this behavior. Some of them were, but they were mostly just people basically saying that people should be able to do what they want and have fun, and you should look the other way. And when they say, no, you're the weird one for taking a picture, that's like the seething Wojak holding the mask up, the seething mask to the other Wojak. It's a total projection. It's a total cope. If you had a glass and you filled it with like how weird this was, for that to be going on in public, you couldn't honestly say that the glass would be filled with the same amount more when the picture was taken because they're not equally weird. Like one requires the other to happen first. And maybe you'll say, well, this was an isolated incident. It's not like you see it everywhere you go. Yeah, maybe not exactly like this, but we see the pride parades and we see the calls for children to be included in the displays of weird fetishes to teach them about LGBT culture, which is so self-aware that it actually has bounced back into being totally oblivious. You see sex on display all throughout the culture. Kids are getting addicted to pornography. It's carpeted throughout social media, throughout all other forms of media, in their schools, everywhere. And they'll say, well, good, because kids need to be learning about sex at an early age, and they'd rather have it done by the degenerate American culture than by parents. Because if parents have control over their child's perception of sex, then they might actually, instill some morality into it. And we can't have that because it makes the Coomers feel guilty. And here's the inversion of reality that we are experiencing less than 70 years after the sexual revolution, where the most intimate matter is now on full public display, something that should be a private act. Not because it's something to be ashamed of, that's what they say because they're coping and seething at all times, but because it's something that was given to us as a way to create life and to express love and to bond to your wife or to your husband. It's special. There's significance to it. Now it's been reduced to just another sideshow. Everything that made it significant has been eroded. Now it's just basically like co-op masturbation. And this is what left-wing thinking does. It accelerates the cultural entropy of society. Right-wing thinking tries to maintain stability and order against exactly that, because this is what always happens when left-wing thinking propagates, every time. Just think about how it started. Remember when they said, well, it's none of your business about what individuals do in the privacy of their own home. Isn't that right? And then people thought, okay, all right, fair enough. Just make sure it stays in the privacy of your own home. But it's never that simple, is it? And it was never supposed to be. They've been rubbing your nose in it for the last few decades now, and now your kids are just gonna see it on the sidewalk. And what do they say? Mind your own business. Bro, it's in literal public. Mind your own business! And the reason for this is that immoral behavior cannot be contained. Think about it. There's no such thing as a private individual in their own home. That's still the same person. Same person who works with you, who takes care of your children, who makes your coffee, whatever. And if what they were doing weren't immoral, they probably wouldn't need to do it in the privacy of their own home, right? Like, why are you saying sex between married couples is immoral? Ha! Checkmate. No, Coomer. It's just not for you. Not everything is for you to jerk off to. Believe it or not. I know that your entire life is centered around superfluously touching your own pee-pee and then constructing your politics as a series of rationalizations for that, but that's because you're a sick person. But a normal person, like, say they like flying kites. No one would really have a problem with that in public, I would imagine. But when you're into these really weird sexual fetishes, yeah, people don't want to see that. And you know it's wrong, and it makes you feel guilty. And so now to cope with that, you literally have to enforce it on society to alleviate the natural guilt and shame that you feel for being a gay furry who does BDSM stuff. You try to normalize it in society because you're convinced that the only reason you feel shameful about it is because society's bullying you or whatever. So that's the problem with the idea of private individuals, because they're not private. They're the same person. And they don't want to just be acting in private. They don't want to just be individuals. They want everybody to have to witness their behavior in public. And that's why it's the parades, it's the holidays, it's the justification for crackhead breeding in public, it's everything. Even when the results of the slippery slope and the private individuals argument are on full display in public, where you and your children have to see it, you are told to just mind your own business. If this is where we are now compared to even 10 years ago, imagine where we're going to be 10 years from now, assuming that we don't change things. Just imagine. Speaking of thinking ahead, it's almost time to start thinking about the holidays, and the first item on your list needs to be the iTarget Pro. This revolutionary system allows you to dry fire practice with your actual firearm in the comfort, safety, and privacy of your own home. In other words, without old Joe sniffing over your shoulder, right? With the cost of ammo through the roof, you know that, you're smart. This gives law-abiding gun owners a better way to train regularly. No more inconvenient trips to the range or expensive practice ammunition. Just download iTarget's proprietary app, load the laser bullet into your firearm, and start your training experience. Dry fire training will help develop muscle memory, sharpen target reaction speed, sight alignment, trigger function, and more. iTarget Pro comes in all the major calibers, including .223 for your AR, so that you can stay sharp with almost any firearm. Go to itargetpro.com right now, save 10%, plus get free shipping with the offer code Doyle. This is quite literally the smartest way for you to practice, and it pays for itself in less than a day. That's the letter I, targetpro.com, offer code Doyle, itargetpro.com, offer code Doyle. Very epic. But another point that's important to make is that even if we assume that the people having sex weren't crackheads, which I don't know that they are, I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, like I feel like that makes it a little bit more acceptable. Like you can do anything and people will be like, hey, cut that out. But if someone's there like, come on, man, he's on crack. Well, I had no idea. I'm sorry. You know, it's a little different. But I don't think we need to pretend that all the people defending this would all of a sudden have a huge problem with it if it turns out that it were two non-crackhead people just going at it in public, right? And even that implies that we're correct, that it's wrong and that it shouldn't be happening. Like the reason that they are turned on by it is because they know that they shouldn't be doing it. These people are so perverted that it's not enough for them anymore to just put their hand in the cookie jar. They're like, no, I want to be caught doing it. I need you to watch me do it. And everything is so backwards these days that we actually have been blessed with a very useful metric for determining whether something is bad for people and society as a whole. And the metric is that basically anything that's being promoted in the mainstream culture is probably terrible for your soul and for society. And sexual liberation is no different. And the reason for that is because it destabilizes and corrodes society and it makes you a slave to the system. This has been done before throughout history with very bad results. But left-wing people, because they're so narcissistic, they think that they're the first people to come up with this idea of sexual immorality because they view everything throughout history as linear, which is why they can pretend that we're making progress. When in actuality, history is cyclical. It repeats itself. Time is a flat circle. And there's this great book that I've recommended before. And of course, you get the whole list of book recommendations on the website when you're a member, but it's called Sex and Culture. And it was written by a man named Dr. J.D. Unwin, and he analyzes 80 different nations and 6 different civilizations throughout history. And he examines all of their respective rises and falls, and he ranks them in 4 different categories based on how developed they were. And what he ended up finding was that the collapses of these societies were largely determined by the loosening of sexual conventions and the lessening of monogamous relationships. And through stricter sex conventions and abstinence, nations could channel their sexual energy into aggressive expansion, conquer less energetic countries, as well as successfully cultivate achievements in the arts and sciences. And that's the thing. Your sexual drive is your most powerful drive. But if you allow it to consume you, you'll lose sight of everything greater than yourself and the dopamine to which you're addicted. Which is why Dr. Unwin concluded that as societies develop, they become more sexually liberal, which diminishes the social entropy of the society, which is just a sociological term that sort of means the momentum or sustainability, along with its creative and expansive energy, or its capabilities to produce culture and gain power. Does that ring a bell? Does that sound familiar to you? That is the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Western world. It is dying. We are dying because you have 2 options, essentially. You can either subject your desires to the truth, or you can subject the truth to your desires. And if you are governed by your desires, then everything in the world will be viewed through that lens, and you won't ever be able to arrive at the truth because you're so clouded and distracted by your carnal desires. And if you can get a whole population like that, then you can get them to believe anything, and you can have total control over them, and that's where we're at now. So the question then becomes, how do we reconcile with these people? How do we come together under one flag with people who want your kids to be seeing this in public, or at least who don't care and think that you should just mind your own business? You know, we used to be able to say, we agree on the problems, we just have different solutions to the problems. Really? What's the problem here? That people can't have sex in public? We're approaching a very dangerous point in our history where the people are so divided and the culture and society are so unstable that we need this huge government to come in just to keep things from collapsing. But at the same time, that government is occupied by actors who are hostile to half of the people over whom they govern and who literally believe in the terrible ideas that lead to things like this, that create mentally ill people, that create homelessness, that create sexual degenerates, that destroy society. And then they tell you, hey, mind your own business, asshole. This is my business. The moral fabric of my country is my business. And our problem is that we're living through the consequences of people pretending that it wasn't for like 2 generations. Chances blown is dead by my merge, 'cause dead. He led our movement. He supported conservatism, but then he couldn't conserve his body with the fentanyl and methamphetamine. How do you play it? How do you play it? Isn't it? I'm really getting a kick out of this, and I don't really care if you guys aren't, because you look now, punk rock used to be anti-establishment. Now you look, all of these bands, I think even The Offspring, they fired their drummer for being like anti-lockdown or something. And it's like all these bands are now coming out and they're totally submissive to the system. And it's just so antithetical to everything that genre of music is supposed to be about. And explaining the joke is funny to me because it makes the joke not funny. So I get, it's privatized benefits and socialized losses. It's just like the Federal Reserve. I get all the benefits because I laugh. You guys have to pay the price. But playing old like popular punk songs or pop punk songs, I should say, so people don't get mad, and then just like doubling down and just full on, they've all been re-recorded to support George Floyd, who really is the most like emblematic symbol of the United States of America at this point. They're literally erecting statues in his honor. At least the golden calf was aesthetically appealing. It's very funny to me. Just, chances blown, it's dead. Buy my merch, 'cause it's dead. Did you hear that it's dead? Buy my merch with a counterfeit 20. I'll figure it out. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you're notified when I post. And then, of course, share the video with a friend, leave a comment, like the video. Let me know if you want to see more George Floyd tributes. This song is called this song is about every city in the country after George Floyd died. It's called Stay Together for the Kids. Anyways, this isn't funny. Okay, now I'm not laughing anymore. Now I'm not having fun anymore, so I don't want to do it anymore. I'm rage quitting. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless America. Go get merch, because George Floyd's dead. That's not funny, by the way. It's not funny. I'm not laughing at that. It's funny because of why I just said. I think I slept weird last night. So now what I'm doing is just sitting here to see how long people will watch, because I have those statistics. I can look in the analytics and see how long people just watch. Just what's he going to say? Is he going to play another song? I'm just going to sit here for 4 more minutes. Just kidding. I have to edit a video. This video. We're a little bit of a fourth wall break there, right? Anyways, thank you so much. These are just going to get worse. These are literally just going to get worse until 80% of the video is just the outro. I'm gonna have to stop this. I think it's just too much fun. It's just too much fun for me. I just say whatever I want. I have to talk about topical things during the video. This is just draining just my brain of just nonsense. And then the leftists are gonna say, isn't the whole video you just draining your brain of nonsense? Shut up. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless America.